ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुक्तापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganarita Shri Vishakhantam He Krishna Purna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindaveshri Vrishabham Siddhadevi Pranamhi Haripriyo Vancha Pradurvesha Pasindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurav Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to Corporate Bhagavad Gita. We were reading last week from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and we completed verse number 5. And okay, so we have to continue from verse number 6. So last time we had a discussion on just a minute. So last time we were discussing about detachment. There was a question how to be detached, right? And some of the points were: first is intellectually through knowledge. I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Seeing practically also that when one leaves the body, everything remains here. So there is no possession that we can say it is eternal, our own, right? Then second is by practicing karma yoga with detachment, just for the sake of duty, for benefit of all, and ultimately offering results to Krishna. This will get us, the quality of equanimity, sameness, and it will help us in detachment. And then ultimately, I told about bhakti yoga. When one practices bhakti yoga, that is to chant the holy name. The holy name cleanses the heart of all misgivings and attachment. There's one more thing I want to add is detachment is learned very easily when one serves an advanced soul, spiritually advanced soul. He serves or learns from a spiritually advanced soul, then all the qualities that are necessary, including detachment, it comes. So there is a part of bhakti yoga where one serves a spiritually advanced soul or guru, then detachment is easily achieved. Okay, so it's a process. We have to do multiple things and then slowly we'll come to perfection. Okay, so with said that, let's go to verse number 6. बन्धुरात्मनस्तस्य येनात्मैव जितः आत्मनस्तस्य तु शत्रुते वर्तते मैव शत्रुवत्. So we were discussing about mind. The mind is the one that will help to deliver. Where the mind is, there the attention is. It's like that. The 6th verse also continues with the mind. For he who has conquered the mind is the best friend. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So ultimately, we have to conquer the mind. Right now, the mind has conquered us, but in our practice, we should end up conquering the mind. And when we do that, then our mind becomes our best friend. And right now, we are not at that situation, so mind is our enemy. Okay. So this process of Ashtanga Yoga, I talked like, the mind, the subtle body floats on the airs, the life airs of the body now. So Ashtanga Yoga with its pranayam, yogasana, rules, regulation, meditation, it mechanically controls the mind. Okay, it mechanically controls the mind. The purpose of Ashtanga Yoga, Eightfold Yoga, is to control the mind in order to make it friend in discharging the human mission. Unless the mind is controlled, the practice of yoga for show is simply a waste of time. One who cannot control his mind lives always with his greatest enemy, and thus his life and its mission are spoiled. The constitutional position of living entity is to carry out the order of the superior. As long as the mind remains an unconquered enemy, one has to serve the dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. But when the mind is conquered, one voluntarily agrees to abide by the dictation of the personality of God, who is situated within the heart of everyone as Paramatma. Real yoga practice entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart and then following his dictation. One who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, perfect surrender to the dictation of the Lord, follows automatically. So in this regard, there is a very nice story of Alexander. So when Alexander came to India, he was fighting and conquering many lands. And there were Rishi Munis, right, which were in India. So he came to know that nearby there is a Rishi Muni who is meditating in a cave. So he became interested. So he went to that Rishi Muni and he found that he was meditating with his eyes half closed. And he tried to, interrupt the Rishi Muni, but the Rishi Muni was in his own um, meditation. So after multiple attempts, Alexander couldn't disturb him. So he got angry and he pulled out his sword and he said, I will kill you if you don't talk to me. After some time, the Rishi Muni came, said to his senses and external world, and he saw Alexander was there. So he told Alexander, your master is my servant. So Alexander was thinking, what is he saying? He's saying, my master is his servant. So Alexander said, there's no master greater than me. I have captured so much of land, defeated so many people. Then still the sage said, but you still have a master. And that master is my servant. Alexander thought very deeply. He understood that this is a very philosophical thing that the sage is saying. So then he became a little calm and he asked the sage, can you explain? Then he told Alexander that you became angry and your anger has now controlled you and is now dictating you to do what to do. But that anger I have controlled. Therefore, your master I have controlled. So all these dictations of lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. is all dictation of the mind. And when the mind is controlled, all these things won't disturb us. Okay, so one of the process is definitely from the Ashtanga Yoga process, eightfold misery process, eightfold yoga system process, where pranayam and yogasana are chief. It's a very important thing. Second one is the last line that Prabhupada says here: one who takes to Krishna consciousness directly. Meaning one who becomes a devotee of the Lord, for him also dictations of the Lord becomes superior. He follows the dictation of the Lord and he is able to overcome this lust, anger, avarice, illusion. So last time we were discussing Hanuman. When Hanuman entered the Ravana's palace, he saw that there were a lot of enjoyments. Everything was made of gold and there was a lot of enjoyment there. So many women and uh, wine and alcohol and music was going on. So, but Hanuman didn't become disturbed seeing all this. Why? Because in his mind was fixed on his goal of finding Sita. So the Lord had ordered to find Sita, so his mind was fixed on that. When the mind is fixed on that, then all these things don't disturb. Lust, anger, avarice, illusion, etc. See, we in our practical life also, if we make up our mind, then we can overcome everything. Yes or no? Like some students they say, actually it happened with me also. When it is exam time, right? It is just a matter of making up your mind. If you make up your mind that yes, to I want to prepare nicely for the exam, and if you just make up your mind, then all the distractions won't disturb you. Why? Because once you're made up mind, you've got higher determination, and with that determination, you can kick off everything, right? So, mind is so very important. Did you have any experience where you made up your mind and then nothing could disturb you? Anything that you want to share? Do you have any experience of yours where you just made up your mind and then normal things which would disturb you didn't start disturbing you? You were fixed up. You must have seen so many, um these obese people, right? If they make up their mind that I have to lose weight, then they will go to gym, they will practice under somebody, they'll follow a diet, and after like few months, 1 year, 2 year, we will see that that whole weight they have lost, and they have become nice, young, slim, powerful, strength, stronger, right? Have you seen those videos on YouTube?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So what are they doing? They're definitely doing hard work, but before the hard work, they are just making their mind strong. If the mind is strong, then everything can be achieved. Or let's say,
Yes,
difficult things
yes.
can be achieved. So Krishna is telling us about these things. With the help of the mind, we have to deliver ourselves. With the help of the mind, we have to make him our best friend. Friend means what? One who helps you, right? Basic meaning. One who helps you. So the mind will ultimately help us in achieving our goal. Okay? So um so yes, use the pranayam yogasana process. It will help. Then become devotee of Krishna. That will also help. Okay? जितात्मन प्रशांतात्मा प्रशांतस्य सॉरी जितात्मनः प्रशांतस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. Such a man's happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor, dishonor are all same. So, conquering the mind brings us nearer to the super soul, Paramatma within our heart. And then happiness, distress, heat, cold, honor, dishonor is all the same. What was the famous thing of Mahendra Singh Dhoni? What is he called?
Calm,
Huh?
calmness in
Yeah, the cool captain, right?
very calm in difficult
Yeah. Under great pressure, he was very calm and cool, right? Why? Because his mind was fixed.
He should not be carried away by the things and
Yeah.
situation. That he should not go to extremes.
Actually, he didn't get carried away even with success nor with failure. You see, it is not that always he won. He sometimes lost also, and sometimes he lost even after giving 100% to it, after hitting a century. Right? We see some cricketers they hit century, but still their team loses. So anyway, the point is uh, the um, the mind plays a big role. So we should tap this energy of the mind, and with that help deliver ourselves, whether in our material life or in spiritual life, both. Okay. Actually, every living entity is intended to abide by the dictation of the Supreme Personal Godhead, who is sitting in everyone's heart at Paramatma. When the mind is misled by external illusory energy, one becomes entangled in material activities. Therefore, as soon as the one's mind is controlled through one of the yoga system, one should be considered to have already reached the destination. One has to abide by superior dictation. When one's mind is fixed on superior nature, he has no alternative but to follow the dictation of the Supreme. The mind must admit some superior dictation and follow it. The effect of controlling the mind is that one automatically follows the dictation of the superior of the Paramatma Super Soul. Because this transcendent position is at once achieved by one who is in Krishna consciousness, the devotee of the Lord is unaffected by the dualities of material existence, namely distress, happiness, cold, and heat. This state is called practically samadhi or absorption in the Supreme. So, in case of Bhakti Yoga, right, he doesn't use, even if he say he doesn't use his pranayam or yogasanas, all that mechanical way to control the mind, it is not required in Bhakti Yoga. In Bhakti Yoga, one is in love with Krishna and his mind is fixed on Krishna. So whatever Krishna is telling, he will do, is doing like that. So it is all achieved in Bhakti Yoga. No separate endeavor is required. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कूटस्थ विजितेन्द्रिय युक्त ही उच्चते योगी समलोताश्म कंचन. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi. When he is fully satisfied by the virtue of acquiring knowledge and realization, such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones, or gold, as same. This is a very important point. This line is repeated twice. Um, we read previously that one who sees the Brahmana equal vision, right? Equal vision. We read beforehand, right? Samatattva. So this is another way to see equal vision. To see stone, gold, and pebbles, that is rocks, to be same, no difference. What does that mean? Does that mean that if gold is, if some gold is fallen on the road, then you won't pick it up? Does it mean like that?
It means that Prabhuji, everything for him it has the same value. I mean, like he considers everything to be. He doesn't consider God to be more important or more precious than other things. It means that he has equal vision to see them.
Okay, okay, okay. Actually, various spiritualists on the path of transcendence, right, will act differently to the same thing. So for some people, right, this will be very literal thing, pebbles, gold, stone, so they may not even touch it. But some transcendentalists, they may see all this as part of Krishna and they will utilize in Krishna's service. And a practical person will pick up the gold and give it to back to whom it belongs, or make a proper utilization of it. Okay. So What it means is, like you said, he sees everything same in relation to its ownership. Does this belong to me or not? Does this belong to someone? Like that. Um, okay, we'll read the purport. There are some details in here. Book knowledge without realization of the Supreme is useless. So, theoretical knowledge is not just enough to understand the Supreme truth. There needs to be practical application also. अतः कृष्ण नामादि श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्रहम इंद्रिया सेवनमुखी जिवादो स्वयं एव स्फुरते अधः. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, quality, pastimes of Sri Krishna through material contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastime of the Lord revealed to him. The Bhagavad Gita is a science of Krishna consciousness. No one can become Krishna simply by mundane scholarship. One must be fortunate enough to associate with a person who is in pure consciousness. A Krishna conscious person has realized knowledge, and with the grace of Krishna, because he is satisfied with pure devotion service. By realized knowledge, one becomes perfect. By transcendental knowledge, one can remain steady in his convictions. But by mere academic knowledge, one can be easily deluded and confused by the apparent contradictions. It is the realized soul who is actually self-controlled because he is surrendered to Krishna. He is transcendental because he has nothing to do with mundane scholarship. For him, mundane scholarship and mental speculation, which may be as good as gold to others, are of no greater value than pebbles or stones. So Prabhupada is giving another angle to the same verse. What he's saying is mundane scholarship and mental speculation. This is very attractive. Like somebody a PhD with degrees and all is very attractive. Oh, you have so many degrees, you are so much educated. Mental speculation, meaning you can talk so nicely that you can confuse people. You can argue with people. You can, it's very difficult to defeat you. So this may be, people may think this is all great, but in terms of spirituality, when there is no practical service and only these things are there, mundane scholarship, mental speculation, then it is not actually gold. It is pebbles or stones. So that is another way to look at this verse. Any questions? Okay. सुरहुन मित्रारि उदासीन मध्यस्थ द्वेष बांधसु साधुष्वे अपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर विशिष्यते. A person is still considered advanced when he regards honest well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, neutrals, meditators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious, the sinners, all with an equal mind. All with an equal mind. So, when he regards equal mind means he is able to interact with all of these mediators, neutral people, enemies, and friends with an equal mind without being disturbed. Like sometimes, if an enemy comes in front of us, we are very disturbed. We may get angry and all that, right? Our reaction is like with full of anger and revenge and all that. But a person who is spiritually very advanced, right? He is having equal mind. He, if an enemy comes in front of him, he's not going to be, uh, getting angry and disturbed by seeing that person. His mind is calm. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi sritha एकाकी यत चित्तात्मा निरासर अपरिग्रह. A transcendent should always engage his body, mind, self in relationship with the supreme. He should live alone in a secluded place and should always fully control his mind. He should be free from desires and feeling of possessiveness. Okay, so now from here, Krishna is going to talk about the eightfold yoga system, Ashtanga yoga system. Okay, the details of it. So if you see, the first thing he says is secluded place, where not many people are there. So where is a place where it is secluded, not many people are there?
Forest, Prabhu.
Yeah, forest. So in Ashtanga yoga, right, it is a compulsory thing. If you want to follow Ashtanga yoga, it's a compulsory thing to go to forest. But then Krishna is talking about karma yoga also, right? So then Krishna in the morning he used to get up and meditate on himself. So did he go in the forest? No. So secluded is means also quiet place also. Okay. So that can be done within our home also. And it may not be possible the whole day, but in the early morning times it may be possible. Yes. So in the early morning time we may get a secluded place in our crowded city. So yeah. So um, and then controlling our mind free from desires and feelings of possessiveness, interesting word, possessiveness. Aprigraha, nirashir, parigraha, nirashira parigraha. Okay, so possessiveness, why do you think possessiveness is such a problematic that we have to tackle it first? What is your thought process? Why possessiveness is picked up by Krishna?
Prabhuji, possessiveness usually attaches us to a certain thing.
Yeah, true.
So when we get attached,
Yeah, yeah. You can give example.
like if I'm very fond of my scooter,
Yeah.
then a scooter, no, not living. I mean, sorry. If I'm very attached to my family, then I always think everything. I will be thinking everything in relation to them. Like this is mine, so they should listen to me, or
Yes,
I should
So
always
that
satisfy them.
possessiveness is there, like this is mine, me and mine, right? And that possessiveness keeps us in this world. So, um, like one may be attached to his car or family or in the place where he's living. So he feels possessed by it, and that drives him. So when we want to practice this meditation yoga process, right, we should become little detached, not possessive but detached. Then practicing becomes easier. Otherwise our mind, it will keep telling us, oh, what happened to your car, oh, what happened here, oh, what happened this, right? So that possessiveness is a very anchoring like quality, it has a very anchoring like quality. It doesn't let us go free. Like some people are possessive to their thoughts and to their opinions. So there's a story, not a real story but a fable, where two friends are fighting, and fighting on what? How to cut a rope. One friend says use a scissor, Other friend says, no, use a knife. And they both start arguing. And one of the friend who keeps saying scissor, scissor, he falls down in the nearby river, and he's drowning. And he's drowning to such an extent that his only hands are visible. So using his fingers, he makes a sign of two and he closes it up and closes and opens it. Still fighting and saying that use a scissor. So that's the thing, the possessiveness. It it uh, it clouds us. It puts a cloud in front of us. Okay. Um, okay. Quite a long purport for this verse, possessiveness. But let's get into it. Krishna is realized in different degrees as Brahman, Paramatma, and Supreme Personal Godhead. Krishna consciousness means concisely to be always engaged in a transcendental loving service of the Lord. But those who are attached to the impersonal Brahman or localized spirit, super soul are also partially Krishna conscious. Because the impersonal Brahman is spiritual ray of Krishna and super soul is all pervading partial expansion of Krishna. Thus, the impersonalist and a meditator are also indirectly Krishna conscious. A directly Krishna conscious is the topmost transcendentalist, because such a devotee knows what is meant by Brahman and Paramatma. His knowledge of absolute truth is perfect, whereas the impersonalist and the meditative yogi are imperfectly Krishna conscious. We'll get to this point. Nevertheless, all of these instructions herewith to be constantly engaged in their particular pursuit so that they may come to the higher perfection sooner or later. The first business of a transcendentalist is to keep the mind always on Krishna. One should always think of Krishna, not forget him even for a moment. Concentration of the mind on the Supreme is called Samadhi or trance. In order to concentrate the mind, one should always remain in seclusion and avoid disturbance by external objects. He should be very careful to accept favorable and reject unfavorable conditions that are effective for his self-realization. And in the perfect determination, he should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of possessiveness. So here, so basically, possessiveness affects our determination. It it takes our determination into mode of ignorance and passion. Rather than keeping it in goodness, it takes us in that direction, ignorance and passion. And the qualities of ignorance and passion is anger, lust, and sleep, indolence, madness. So we have this example of Ravana, right? He was very possessed of what? Of Sita, right? And because of that possessiveness, he lost his whole family, everyone, brother, their children, his own children, his favorite son Indrajit, his whole army he lost because of that one feeling of possessiveness. All these perfections and precautions are perfectly executed. One is directly in Krishna consciousness, because direct Krishna consciousness means self abnegation, wherein the very little chance for material possessiveness. Sri Rupa Goswami characterizes Krishna consciousness in this way. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts everything in retaliation to the Krishna, one is rightly situated above the possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Okay. So we talked about possessiveness, me and mine. So what is the right understanding of possessiveness? This is mine. So how to understand? Is it really mine, or is it someone else? Like, let's say It's your two-wheeler or four-wheeler, and you just park it somewhere. Now you have that feeling of possessiveness towards it because it is your car. If your car gets stolen, you will definitely cry and look out for it, like file a police complaint. So is that possessiveness, or what exactly is possessiveness, or how to see at this thing? And the hint over given it is that we should
Prabhuji,
see.
if someone
Yeah.
Prabhuji, if someone has towed our vehicle and looking for it is not possessiveness, no, Prabhu. It is like searching for it. Possessiveness is that it is only mine and nobody else should have use it. It is called as possessiveness.
Yes. So I was coming to that point only, that the hint given in this shloka is that we should see in relationship to Krishna. Ultimately, everything belongs to Krishna. We also belong to Krishna. So when we see in relationship to Krishna, then we are not possessed by it. Okay, we just know that okay, I have to use it in Krishna's service. Um, if a company gives a rented car, one may like that rented car, but he cannot think that oh, this is mine now, right? He cannot think that way. So he has to see the car in relationship with the company. Oh, this is my company's car, and in that way, he won't be attached or possessed by it, right? Similarly, in this world, everything that we see is belongs to Krishna, and I have to offer back to Krishna. Um, then the renunciation is complete. Okay, like a child may take something from the house which actually belongs to his father. Let's say his purse or something, or his mobile, and then he's not ready to give it up. He says, "This is mine now. It's not yours. This is mine." Then that possessiveness disturbs the child so much, right? That the child starts hitting the same parent that gave him birth and love him, just because they're taking something from his hand which he thinks it belongs to him, but actually it belongs to someone else. Okay, so that's the problem with possessiveness. So correct understanding is see it in relationship to Krishna. A Krishna conscious person well knows that everything belongs to Krishna, and thus he is always free from feelings of personal possession. As such, he has no hankering for anything on his personal account. He knows how to accept things in favor of Krishna consciousness and how to reject things unfavorable of Krishna consciousness. He is always aloof from material things because he is always transcendental, and he is always alone, having nothing to do with the persons not in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness is the perfect yogi. So, one thing, perfect yogi, the point has come. A yogi is understood to be a very detached person. Okay, he won't show the quality of possession or possessiveness, but at the same time, he's doing this Ashtanga yoga, right? So he will get some siddhis and control of mind and senses. So he may get feel proud of it, or he may get enamored by all the siddhis that one gets, siddhis of becoming smaller than the smallest, prapti siddhi, getting things from which are far away from us, bigger than the biggest. So all these things can entice him and then divert him. So that's why the Ashtanga yogis, they have a risk that they may get deviated. But a Krishna conscious person, what happens to him? He sees everything belongs to Krishna, so he utilizes it in Krishna's service. And because of that, he's not attached to all these things. So therefore, he's the perfect yogi. A perfect yogi, if he gets all the siddhis and all, then he may try to do something for his wife. Sorry, um, sorry, uh, I lost train of thought. Sorry. Okay, a perfect yogi, basically he won't get carried away with all the possessions he may have and he may not have. Both the conditions. When somebody doesn't have something, then for want of it, they become crazy enough to get it, right? And somebody who has everything, to maintain it and to not lose it, that person also becomes crazy. But a yogi, he sees that everything, it has to be utilized. It's not to be hoarded on, like, should not become a miser and not give it to someone else like that. So therefore, a bhakta is actually a perfect yogi. Like, we are talking about Ravana. So he saw a very beautiful plain of Kuvera. So he forcibly took that plain for himself. Okay. So even though Ravana was a yogi, but he was not perfect. He had this quality of possessiveness, like that. Any questions till now?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Ravana, how did he know about Sita? How did when did he see Sita, Prabhuji, in Ramayana? That
He
he
didn't.
abducted. We only hear that he abducted her, but I've never read where he exactly saw her
So
and
actually, the first one who saw Sita was his sister, Surpanaka.
Supanakha. Okay.
Yeah. So she saw first Lord Ram and she desired Lord Ram to be her husband. So she took a very beautiful form and approached Lord Ram in the place called Nasik, which is in Maharashtra. And there Lord Ram said, I am married, but I have my younger brother. You go to him. Lakshman said, how can I have you? I have my elder brother in front, so he should have you. And she went to Lord Ram. Lord Ram, no, 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 younger brother. And no, no, he said elder brother. In this, she got angry. And then she saw Sita. And she said to Lord Ram, you're not accepting me because of her, I will kill her. And she attacked Sita. There where at that point, Lakshman came and saved her. And he cut her nose off. Nasik. And with her cut nose, she ran back to her brother Ravana. And she told Ravana how Sita looked, meaning how beautiful she is and all. Just by hearing that, Ravana said, I want to have Sita. So that's the story. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you need to read Ramayana. शुचो देशे परितिष्ठप्य स्थिरम आसनम आत्मनः नाति उच्चितं नाति नीचं शैलाञ्जन कुशोत्तरम. Very difficult words these are. तत्र एकाग्रम मनः कृत्वा यत्त चितेन्द्रिय क्रियः उपवास उपविश्यानि या यासाने युञ्जात योगम आत्म विशुद्धये उपविश्यसना यश उपविश्यासने उपविश्यासने युञ्जा युञ्जा योगात्मा विशुद्धयते. Okay, now this is again we are going into details of Ashtanga yoga, what exactly it is. To practice yoga, one should go to secluded place and lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high, too low, and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities, and fixing the mind on one point. So, what is Ashtanga yoga? Go to a secluded place. Now we discuss both things, forest and not in case of forest, no, city. Lake Kusha grass. This is a particular kind of grass which is soft and they use deer skin. Do you know why deer skin is used?
It has some strong smell, Prabhuji, which will repel all the small insects and flies
Yeah,
that
yeah,
usually are
yes.
found in the jungle.
Yes, yes. And a soft cloth. So you put a cloth on that deer skin and sit. Okay. The seat should neither be too high, too low, and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga. Okay. In the next verse, he gives more information. Uh, we can just read it. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. With an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So after sitting, one should what he should do? He should stare, keep his eyes half closed and stare at the tip of the nose. And some yogis they chant Om and all that. At the start, they stare at the tip of the nose. They should be devoid of fear that, oh, what will happen to me? No, and they should meditate upon me. So within the heart, they should see Krishna as the super soul. That is the ultimate goal of this particular Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists or devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Rishikesh, Haridwar, Badrinath. And in solitude, practice yoga where sacred rivers like Yamuna, Ganga flows. But often this is not possible, especially for the Westerners or those who live in the cities. The so-called yoga system in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not suitable for actual practice of yoga. So we know today all these yoga studios and all that, it's a great business. But actual practice of yoga is meant for to see the super soul within the heart, which they never talk about and they don't know the process also. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. So one has to be self-controlled and his mind has to be undisturbed. In the Briyat Narada Purana it is said in Kali Yuga that people in general, so so I'll take you to one very nice shloka of Bhagavatam. This verse. प्रायेण अल्पेषु सभ्य कालो अस्मि युगे जनः मंद सुमंद matayo mand bhage uparit. So in this age now, particular age of Kali that is going on for last 5,000 years, it will continue for 4 lakh 32 years. Men almost always have but short lives. Our lives are very short, which we know. They are quarrelsome. right? Every now and then some quarrel is going on in any corner, micro to macro level. Lazy, lazy for spiritual life, and many a times we'll see lazy for material life also. Misguided, misguided means people are told wrong things and they follow wrong things. Why? Because they were told wrong things to do by by teachers and gurus who are themselves misguided, unlucky. This I did not explain. So many times we have faced this, right? Some luck is needed and sometimes it is a bad luck. And above all, always disturbed. In this age, we are always disturbed. Do you think there was a time when we were undisturbed? No, right? Sometimes the disturbance is so much that it doesn't let us sleep also. Getting? So this is what we are facing. Now Krishna here is saying we have to go to some place, secluded place and all that, but we are facing quarrel, laziness, misguided, unlucky. So this Ashtanga Yoga process is actually very difficult to follow in Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, what is the method to be followed? Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Nasteva Gatiranyata. In this quarrel, age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, no other way, no other way, no other way. So three times it is said no other way. So for us, chanting the holy name of the Lord is the way to perfection. And this will achieve a lot of things. So Ashtanga Yoga, all the processes is not so much possible. And we'll see in the later part of this chapter, Arjuna says this is very difficult to follow. He will say these things in the later part of this chapter. Then Krishna says you have to practice. Okay. So practice is a solution, definitely. But the whole process, only few can be successful. Why? Because our we are always disturbed and there's always some quarrel going on, and we're no more going to Himalayas and all that. We go to Himalayas when? For some picnic, right? So okay. Samam kayo shiro gribam dharyam achalam स्थिरः संप्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रम स्वयं दिशचस चाना चानावलोकम लोयगम प्रशांतात्मा विगत भ्रीर ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थित मन संयम्या मच्चित्तो युक्त आसित मत्परः. Okay, we'll try to complete this verse and we'll stop. So again, one should hold one's body, neck, head erect in a straight line, stare eternally at the tip of the nose, unagitated, subdued, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life. One should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Very interestingly, Krishna says few things. Definitely in the secluded place, and then with unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear. And he talks about sex life also. So completely free. So do the yoga studios say this thing that you have to do yoga, then you have to be completely free from sex life? No. If they say this thing, nobody will come, right? So why do you think this particular clause is kept in Ashtanga Yoga? Any thoughts? Because man and woman attraction is very, very strong. It's very strong. If a boy and girl gets into so-called love, right? They can go to the extent of killing their parents also, right? So it's a very strong attraction. Ashtanga Yoga says you have to keep it away. Best is you go to forest and do it. In the forest, there is no woman going to come, right? So like that. It's a very strong attraction. And this Ashtanga Yoga was done by Vishwamitra Muni. For many thousands of years, he was done. But because he was a king, right, before, so he couldn't give up that sexual attraction. So the moment uh, this Apsara came, just by hearing her ankle bells, he got disturbed and he opened his eyes and he started looking where the noise is coming. Then he saw a woman and he said, okay, this is nice. Finally, I got one woman. So he started associating with her. And after many, many years, he realized, oh, I got deviated. And then his daughter was born, right? Shakuntala. Then again, he started doing tapasya. Then next time, another Apsara was sent by Indra. But this time, he got angry on her and burnt her. Then anger overcame him. So again, he became despondent. He said, oh, anger should not be there. Then again, he started doing tapasya. So, and the point is, it's a very strong attraction, definitely. Now, compared to that, does Bhakti Yoga has such limitation or clause? What are the clauses of Bhakti Yoga? What is the rules that we need to follow
That,
in Bhakti Yoga? If you have heard, can
that
you tell?
everything should be done for the pleasure of the Lord
Yes, that is fine.
in bhakti.
Yeah, in Bhakti Yoga, we have the four regulative principles: no meat eating, second one is no intoxication. See, these are Bhakti Yoga should also follow, Ashtanga Yoga should also follow. But there is one slight change here: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. So for Ashtanga Yogi, there is zero sex. But for a devotee, no illicit sex means no sex outside marriage. So from that perspective, Bhakti Yoga is very practical, right? One may say, I am married and all this, I am young, I am married, and you are telling me to do this, free from sex life, go to forest. Very difficult. So that for them, they may try Bhakti Yoga, right? And can be peaceful and then practice spiritual life in Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Okay, we are 3 minutes past 2. I don't think I can finish this. Any questions or comments? Any questions at this point?
No, Prabhuji.